for being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. Hey, thanks for still being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. I'll be back shortly. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hey, I know you're waiting. Just a few more minutes. I'll be back shortly. I know you're waiting. I'll be back shortly. Just a few more minutes. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hi, I hope you're learning well. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Hey, thanks for being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. Hey, thanks for still being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. I'll be back shortly. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hey, I know you're waiting. Just a few more minutes. I'll be back shortly. I know you're waiting. I'll be back shortly. Just a few more minutes. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hi. I hope you're learning well. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Hey, thanks for being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. Hey, thanks for still being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. I'll be back shortly. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hey, I know you're waiting. Just a few more minutes. I'll be back shortly. I know you're waiting. I'll be back shortly. Just a few more minutes. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hi. I hope you're learning well. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Hey, thanks for being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. Hey, thanks for still being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. I'll be back shortly. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait.
So take it. Um, I guess I'm coming back to this project after a month and a half. So yeah, let's continue building the Rocket League game that we mentioned in the title. So take it. So I'm opening this project after a month and a half, and I'll be playing it for the first time after a month and a half, just to see what I had made previously. So okay, what was this? Alright, there were play, exit, customization, settings, and exit buttons, and then there is this livery selection, but none of it seems to be working. Why? No idea why. Alright, so that's a bummer. What I remember is we downloaded cars from the package manager, and in there we had like 9 different cars. Some of them also had different liveries. That is why we created the livery selection. And finally, the pilot, who seems to be, playing a co-op game of 4 men for some reasons. This was to denote different seating positions in different cars. So the car would automatically select which pilot to choose. Yes, that's going to be like a bit of nice. So, ठीक है. What else do I have? Frankly, मेरे को भी याद नहीं क्या पड़ा हुआ है, क्या नहीं है, क्या बनाया था मैंने लास्ट टाइम. So mostly आज का दिन रिवीजन पे जाएगा. I do have a game menu which seems to be empty. A game scene. Alright, doesn't matter. I don't save. I come back to main menu. This is what I have. Alright, options के अंदर for some reasons I have customization and buttons करके अलग से एक buttons करके अलग से गेम ऑब्जेक्ट है जहाँ पे वेर आई हैव वेल बटन्स. एंड मेरे को पता नहीं अभी हुआ क्या है, बट सारे के सारे आइकन्स गायब हो गए. सो आई एम सीइंग द C# default script icon on literally most of the components, including the canvas that I've noticed earlier. There is a icon for canvas scaler as well as graphic recaster जो अभी के लिए निकल गया for some reasons. I don't know. I hope कि that is literally the only error in this new version of Unity that I just installed today morning. So alright, are any of this buttons working, or is it just alright, this buttons seem to work. It's just that कि मैंने बटन पे कुछ फीडबैक नहीं रखा हुआ, सच एस होवर होने पे कुछ लाइट हो जाना चाहिए वगैरह एंड सो ऑन. सो ठीक है, let us revise everything about this, and by revise I mean possibly gain control of it back again. Now how do I gain control of a project after a month? Of course, if कुछ बड़ा project होता है I would be studying it, but I think मैंने barely एक ही lecture लिया इस पे. That was around 3 hours. So no, it's kind of best instead of revising, just begin again. Right? So alright. The first thing I noticed is my camera seems to be orthographic, which is not a bad sign, but still, एंड यू इट स्टिल कैन बी पर्सपेक्टिव में मेरा कार बहुत ही क्लोजअप आ गया, सो इसको मैं थोड़ा पीछे लेता हूँ ना। पीछे कैसे जाएगा? ओके, इसका स्केल बड़ा है। सो जो कार रोटेट हो रहा था, इसको हम लोग को रोटेशन भी देना है अपने खुद के हिसाब से, राइट? अभी तक कार रोटेट हो रही नहीं है। वी हैव टू राइट अ स्क्रिप्ट दैट मेक्स द कार रोटेट। लास्ट टाइम भी मैंने उसको मैन्युअली रोटेशन दे रहा था, सो ठीक है। सो आई हैव द मेन फोल्डर्स जिसके अंदर मैंने स्क्रिप्ट बनाया है। अभी तक ओके, ओनली एक ही स्क्रिप्ट है मेरे पास। नाइस। एम आई श्योर? सेटिंग्स करके, डिफ़ॉल्ट सेटिंग्स करके, इसे एक ही स्क्रिप्ट है। सेटिंग्स करके जिसके अंदर मैंने नेम स्पेस बनाया हुआ है, दैट इज RL, एंड create asset menu attribute order 350 doesn't matter, determines the max FPS for this application. All right, ठीक है। आई मीन कुछ ज़्यादा आगे का बना लिया मैंने, बट उसको यूज़ किया मैंने किधर नहीं। ओके, देयर इज़ अनदर स्क्रिप्ट इनसाइड ऑफ टाइम दैट सेज कार, एंड कार के अंदर मैंने आई गेस इसका या लिवरी टेस्टिंग के लिए देखा था कि बेस मैप इज़ एक्चुअली द मटेरियल का बेस मैप वैल्यू। इफ़ आई सिलेक्ट डिफ़ॉल्ट मटेरियल, इसका नाम क्या आता है? बेस मैप। ऑल राइट, सो दैट इज़ अंडरस्कोर बेस मैप इन कैमल केसिंग, सॉरी पास्कल केसिंग, Pascal case prefixed with an underscore. So material in context, set texture, liveries value. Alright. एंड उसके लिए आई गेस मैंने कार करके अलग से ऑब्जेक्ट बनाया था, दैट्स सपोज टू बी स्क्रिप्टेबल ऑब्जेक्ट, जहाँ पे मैंने एक कार का प्रीफैब उठाया, उसका लिवरेज बनाया, और उसके लिए उसका मटेरियल इन कंटेक्स्ट उठाया, जहाँ पे द वैल्यू वाज सपोज टू बी व्हाट द हेल इज़ अ वैल्यू। I honestly do not remember. Alright then, if I don't remember, you know what to do. You see this button right here? There's a beautiful button in a keyboard that says or spells out as DELEDE. Press that and press enter. We don't need that. I'll make it again. फिर UI के अंदर मैंने क्या रखा है? सिलेक्टर। ऑलराइट, सो दिस इज़ वन ऑफ द सिलेक्टर जिसका मैंने फॉर सम रीज़न प्रीफैब बना के रखा हुआ है, विच इज़ नॉट बैड। ऑलराइट, सो बटन से मैंने हॉरिजॉन्टल लेयर ग्रुप डाला हुआ है विद अ स्पेसिंग ऑफ 10, वेयर द प्रीवियस बटन इज बेसिकली अ बटन, नेक्स्ट इज ऑल्सो अ बटन, जहाँ पे टेक्स्ट के अंदर मैंने एरोस वगैरह पॉइंट आउट किया हुआ है। ऑलराइट, आई गेस ये चीज़ रखता हूँ मैं, राइट? बट इट्स जस्ट वन थिंग कि मेरा कैनवास चलना बंद हो गया ड्यू टू बगिंग आउट ऑफ दिस ग्राफिक रिकास्टर कंपोनेंट। ये बग आउट हो गया, आई डोंट नो। सो प्रॉबेबली इसको फिक्स करने के लिए वी रीसेट द इवेंट सिस्टम। आई थिंक एक्चुअली मेरा बटन्स काम कर रहा था, इट्स जस्ट दैट कि यहाँ पे एक्स्ट्रा कुछ नहीं हो रहा ना। अच्छा, बिकॉज मैंने कुछ बाइंड ही नहीं किया होगा, दैट इज़ ऑल्सो पॉसिबल है, करेक्ट। नेवर माइंड देन। सो ठीक है, दिस इज सिलेक्टर ऑफ कार एंड सिलेक्टर ऑफ लिवरी। ऑलराइट, जहाँ पे मैंने बटन्स पे कुछ बाइंड किया हुआ है, नहीं किया हुआ है। क्या इसके बटन्स पे कुछ बाइंड किया हुआ है? नहीं किया हुआ है। ऑलराइट, इमेज का भी आइकन चला गया। Alright then. Managers, camera, menu options, buttons, play. Whew. इसको 2D व्यू में डालता है, एंड हाउ डू आई कैरी आउट फ्रॉम हियर? spacing किया था, and also my canvas is then supposed to be constant pixel size and not scale with screen size, so that is also something to consider. Alright, so ठीक है, ऑप्शंस के अंदर मेरे पास अलग से बटन्स है. आई गेस इसको एक बैकग्राउंड देना वैलिड रहेगा कि मैं बैकग्राउंड के बदले कुछ और ऐड करने वाला था. करेक्ट, आई गेस मैं बैकग्राउंड के बदले एक एक्चुअल एनवायरनमेंट ऐड करने वाला था. Alright then, I was about to add an entire environment, so ठीक है. बटन्स के अंदर I have display, customization वगैरह एंड सो ऑन. एंड कस्टमाइजेशन के अंदर मैंने अभी के लिए डिफरेंट कार्स वगैरह जो भी है सिलेक्ट करके रखा हुआ. सो बेसिकली फॉर व्हेन आई प्रेस कस्टमाइजेशन इट मस्ट turn off the buttons, the option buttons, and yep. To be honest, why is this a parent tract? This can directly be a parent tract as well, right? So to be honest, we can just copy these values, that is copying this component and then putting it out on buttons instead. And customization का देखते हैं बाद में, but from what I see is buttons can be its own object. It doesn't need a parent, to be honest, right? That is मेन मेन्यू ऑप्शंस, राइट. यहाँ पे अपने को जितने बटन से उतना ऐड कर सकते हैं, जैसे कि प्ले, कस्टमाइजेशन, सेटिंग्स, एग्जिट. उसके बाद हम लोग रॉकेट पास या वट एवर बटन्स दे वांट टू ऐड, दे कैन जस्ट सेट इट हियर. इफ लेट्स से रॉकेट पास का बटन चाहिए, दे जस्ट नीड टू डुप्लीकेट वन आइटम एंड फिर उसका टेक्स्ट चेंज करना, दैट इज पास और वट एवर इट इज सपोज टू बी, राइट. बट ऑफकोर्स मैं तो अभी के लिए नहीं करूँगा, बिकॉज आई नीड टू मेक अ गेम फर्स्ट. ठीक है. आई डोंट नो मैं वहाँ पे कि देखिए क्यों कैमरा से बात करो, इवन तो मेरा कैमरा यहाँ पे, एंड दैट इज अ लॉट ऑफ नाइस, टू बी ऑनेस्ट. इसके बाद लेट्स आल्सो इंस्ट्रक्ट कस्टमाइजेशन के बटन को कि यू नीड टू टर्न ऑफ मेन्यू ऑप्शन, सो ऑटोमेटिक हो गया, नाइस. And it should then turn on customization, but customization also does not require a parent, or does it? Oh, okay, I see why parent पे था वो. So basically जितना भी चीज़ें हैं सब कुछ एक ही जगह पे आने वाला है, नहीं. Okay, I need to pen this out. Since main menu and customization both share the same rect, like दोनों एक ही जगह पे, they will both be sharing the same rect. As you can see, they are both overlapped perfectly by each other. It's just that कि for, let's say hypothetically, for when I press the settings button, I am expecting a full screen layout, right? So ठीक है, मेन मेन्यू ऑप्शन के अंदर आई एम देन एक्सपेक्टिंग ए फुल स्क्रीन लेआउट. ऑलराइट, इन दैट फुल स्क्रीन लेआउट, विल दैट बी अ डिफरेंट गेम ऑब्जेक्ट? डेफिनेटली, राइट, बिकॉज देयर इज नो अदर वे. सो लेट्स जस्ट से वी क्रिएट settings. Alright, let's all make it black. Of course, settings पे जाने के बाद we don't want to render our car, but क्या हम लोग अपने कार को पीछे डाल सकते हैं UI के? Not really. That's not how it works. Sorry, because our UI is then supposed to be a screen space camera that has a plane distance at 50, it's always going to show up. Even overlay may be there is no way कि then we can draw our car. In order to draw our car in front of UI, we need to use the camera canvas, right? Because that is the only way. So we have to also make sure for when you open up settings, we want to stop displaying cars, and the cars should be instantiated for when the customization takes place, to be honest, in a specific rect. Right, so let's forget about the customization या फिर options वाला menu and let's focus on settings का menu for now. Right, this can be something time consuming, right, but it is of course an essential part of development. Having settings early on, it's just going to help you out if you want to change something easily, right? वरना गेम के बीच में हम लोग काफ़ी सारे सेटिंग्स चेंज करते हैं, जस्ट हार्ड टू कीप ट्रैक ऑफ when actually creating settings at the end. So yeah, it is something. Sure, we can also start with like गाड़ी को भगाना, but all right. ठीक है. What do we have within settings? We need video, audio, key bindings maybe. Yeah, why not? So within here I am going to create an empty game object that is going to say the selection bar, right, or basically categories, right. इसको will use the top rect, that is इसका pivot top पे जाना चाहिए, and will give it 10% of the screen, right. Maybe 10% is too low, who knows, but the thing is, for when we want to change the canvas scaler to scale with screen size by 1080 and everything else, and इसको 0.5 पे रखते, we can then be sure for what size we want to have the top bar for, right. Let's say now if not 10%, let's go with 15%, right. Abhi I have changed my canvas from constant pixel size to scale with screen size, which means it is going to scale as per I change my view, right, which means in every scenario it's going to look basically the same, probably all scenarios, right. But if that weren't the case, right, if it were constant pixel size, you can clearly see the changes in gaps, right. You can clearly see that. You can clearly see some of the icons are rounded. Alright, why are they rounded? Did I not remove their UI sprites? I did not, in fact, right. You can clearly see कि क्या issues आ रहे हैं यहाँ पे, and when the canvas is then set to scale with screen size, which is specifically designed for settings icon, you can see it just stays static, right, on each and every screen size. So I am going to again go to full HD, which definitely makes a difference. if तुम लोग इसका text दिख रहे हो, वहाँ पे दिखेगा कि it just gets more clearer. Then I go back to settings and categories के अंदर I am just going to fill up किधर गया multiple buttons, right. Let's say I'll remove their sprites. I do not want any transition, and I in fact do want to make it a full rect. Right now, after making it a full rect, I also want to specify कि इसका category क्या रहेगा. Video. Thing is, मेरे को अपना text नहीं दिख रहा अभी के लिए. Please assign a font. Yes, okay. I remember कि हम लोग ने इसका Liberations SDF करके फॉन्ट निकाल दिया था, जो मेरे को अभी जस्ट क्लिक हुआ वो एरर देख के नीचे का, या फिर वार्निंग देख के, वॉट एवर इट इज, राइट. एंड विद इन दिस वी डू हैव टू स्पेसिफाई अ फॉन्ट साइज. सो बेसिकली सिंस अपना कैनवास इज स्केल विद स्क्रीन साइज, we can then specify a default font size for each and every icon there is, to be honest, right. So if I turn off settings and यहाँ पे मेरे को दिख रहा है कि सबका साइज काफ़ी डिफरेंट है, राइट. सो आई कैन जस्ट टर्न इट ऑफ एंड सबको एक कांस्टेंट साइज दे सकता हूँ, लाइक लेट्स से 48, राइट. दैट लुक्स नॉट बैड, टू बी ऑनेस्ट. Or maybe 60, yeah, 50, right. So when we scale things, अभी पहले जैसा नहीं लग रहा कि बाकी सब बटन की साइज डिफरेंट एंड कस्टमाइजेशन ड्यू टू इट बीइंग अ लॉन्गर वर्ड वो कुछ डिफरेंट दिख रहा. एवरीथिंग लुक्स द सेम नाउ, राइट. देयर इज evenness in everything. So scale with screen size में we can have a constant font size and then we are assured that it is going to be the same across all resolutions that share the same aspect ratio. The sizing will only change for when the aspect ratio changes, and we are referencing our aspect ratio, that is reference resolution, to full HD, right. So every 16:9 ratio is every time going to be the same. For resolutions that are not 16:9, it is going to be a little bit different, but still we will be able to tell, we won't be able to tell the difference apart, right. It still adjusts or manages everything. So let's go back to full HD, right. Since now we have constant font size, right, I'll be marking this object as X so that I don't forget to edit it later. ठीक है. राइट. वीडियो के बाद देयर इज and there is in सारे categories को I'll put it in a horizontal layout group where I control child size and width, and of course मैंने सब पे text change नहीं किया. For consistency सब पे spacing 25 का ही डालूंगा मैं. And after this, since मेरा categories cover 15% of the screen, I am going to create another empty game object जिसको मैं अभी के लिए full rect मार दूंगा, and I'll cut short the 50% that the categories is using, and this will be named as content, right. अभी content के अंदर I'll also create a scroll view which will be full rect, definitely. Now we need to change a lot of things in the scroll view. First of all, I don't need a horizontal bar. The UI that I will be referring to, I am not going to create the exact same UI, but still, it just poses an idea of what options should there be, or for when I run or hit a brick, or when I need an idea, I can just get a design style or something. So I'm just going to search for Rocket League UI and go to images, and hopefully I find okay. Do none of these guys have go to settings or settings? Let's say. Yeah, so it's somewhat like this. ऊपर ना डिफरेंट डिफरेंट टैब्स है. टैब्स के अंदर एक और बॉक्स बनाया हुआ है जिसके बाहर बैक एंड डिफ़ॉल्ट बटन्स है, एंड देन उसके ऊपर देयर इज ऑल्सो a text that says it's settings. So basically this isn't an entire screen, this is just a pop-up that doesn't actually cover the entire screen. Now we can also do this. Oops. If we want to create the same thing, we can also do this, right? It's just that कि यहाँ पे मेरे को थोड़ा एनिमेशन एंड ग्राफिक्स चाहिए रहेगा हर एक बटन के लिए, बट लेट्स जस्ट से वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू क्रिएट टिल्टेड बटन्स. वी हैव आवर very happy and boring rectangle buttons that can be changed later at any given time, which I will definitely not be changing ever again. And then we create some drop downs, camera shake, field of view and everything else, जो भी उसके settings वगैरह ऐड करते के. अभी यहाँ पे कितनी चीज़ें, गेम प्ले, कंट्रोल्स, कैमरा, ट्रेनिंग, इंटरफेस, वीडियो एंड सो ऑन. फॉर नाउ विल जस्ट ऐड वीडियो, ऑडियो एंड कंट्रोल्स. राइट, so they do say controls, so okay, yes, controls is definitely a better keyword. Keybinds is kind of bad. Controls. Right, so since it is a pop out, what I can do is इस पूरे चीज़ को ना मैं एक्स्ट्रा ब्लीडिंग दे सकता हूँ, लाइक 25, सो दैट यू कैन क्लियरली सी कि ये एक पॉप आउट विंडो बन रहा है दैट कवर्स मोस्ट ऑफ द स्क्रीन. टू बी ऑनेस्ट, इफ वी डोंट रियली वांट ब्लीडिंग, वी कैन ऑल्सो मूव विथ 10% ratio from all sides, but this is not going to be equal. राइट, सो ये अपने को काफ़ी थोड़ा मेहनत करना पड़ेगा. 05, 95 एंड सो ऑन. राइट, 05, 95, so that does give us something, but still it feels very short. So thing is, I'll just go with the bleeding part. Maybe इसको 25 के बदले 50 का bleeding दूंगा. That is for us to decide कि ये कितना inserted रहेगा. Right, for now our menu canvas holds a menu option that has a very specific rect. Then I have the settings rect that covers some part. Right, अभी according to this reference right here, यहाँ पे कट का बटन ऊपर नहीं दिया हुआ, नीचे दिया हुआ, which means we do want to make sure कि the panel that we are opening also has a text that says settings. and इसका जो टॉप बार है ये काफ़ी पतला है, अपना टॉप बार काफ़ी मोटा बना है हम लोग ना, so अंदर का कंटेंट थोड़ा कम दिखेगा. so we'll have to adjust that if we want to make it look alike even remotely. so ठीक है, let's turn off menu options and राइट, इसको फुल रेट मारता है एंड इन दोनों को सीसी के अंदर डाल देता है. अभी सीसी के अंदर डालने के से इसका क्या होगा, दैट इज हम लोग इनको और एक्स्ट्रा ब्लीडिंग दे सकते हैं. राइट, एंड इनको टॉप से हम लोग ज़्यादा ब्लीडिंग दे सकते हैं, जस्ट टू डिटरमाइन कि ऊपर इसका मेन टेक्स्ट आएगा वगैरह एंड सो ऑन. We can also do this entire thing on rect as well, but only if it looks good. right? It doesn't, to be honest. So bleeding it is, I guess. Right, 150 looks enough. अभी इंस्टेड ऑफ क्रिएटिंग द बैक बटन और डिफ़ॉल्ट बटन्स, अभी ये लोग ने क्या किया है, यहाँ पे डिफ़ॉल्ट सेटिंग्स भी बना के रखा है, दैट जस्ट लेट्स यू रिवर्ट बैक टू डिफ़ॉल्ट सेटिंग्स. सो ठीक है, मे बी वी कैन हैव दैट, मे बी वी कैन नॉट फॉर नाउ, बट ऑल राइट. आई गेस मैं इसका कट बटन टॉप राइट पे रखूँगा ड्यू टू द साइज कंस्ट्रेंट्स. अभी यहाँ पे it does look like it has enough size, बट ठीक है. सेटिंग्स के अंदर पॉप आउट के अंदर विल जस्ट से कि there is yet another game object that is then supposed to be on top, that is going to hold a text mesh pro at the center, that is going to say settings. Then I select a font and give it a good enough size. इसको we can also put out at bottom, and इसका sizing we can also keep it at, to be honest, 150. right, by default इसका size क्या है, 100. so if we are bleeding 150 from the other thing, we can definitely add 150 right here. so it kind of creates that. बट ठीक है, इस पूरे के पूरे चीज़ को थोड़ा और रिजिडिफाई करते हैं, दैट इज टाइटल. राइट, दैट इज, इसको बोलते हैं सेटिंग्स पॉपअप. पॉपअप सेटिंग्स. oops. all right, and content area, टाइटल टू बी ऑनेस्ट ऊपर आना चाहिए, एंड टाइटल को थोड़ा सा स्पेस दे ही देता. राइट, एंड कंटेंट एरिया को भी बोलते हैं इतने में एडजस्ट कर ले. राइट, सो इसका खाली टॉप पार्ट पे वी हैव नो ब्लीडिंग, बट बाकी जो लेफ्ट बॉटम एंड राइट पार्ट है वहाँ पे वी डू रिक्वायर सम ब्लीडिंग. इफ टाइटल को थोड़ा और लंबा बनाना, या फिर जैसे रॉकेट लीग में दिख रहा था, वी कैन गिव इट मोर स्पेस, दैट इज अनदर 15% एज वेल, विच इज ऑफ कोर्स जस्ट फाइन. right, so we do have a pop-out settings that just says कि it is bleeded out 50 from left, right, bottom and left, everywhere. top, sorry, I said left twice. फिर उसके अंदर टाइटल आता है, that is then based on rect. फिर कंटेंट आता है, that is also based on rect. right, ये टाइटल को भी पूरा का पूरा रेक्ट में रहने का ज़रूरत नहीं है. इफ़ वी आर डूइंग इट विथ कंटेंट एरिया, इट मैटर नहीं करेगा कि हम लोग इसको ब्लीडिंग दे कि ना दे, बट जस्ट सब जगह पे कंसिस्टेंसी दिखने के लिए वी कैन स्टिल गिव इट अ ब्लीडिंग. राइट, इसका फिर टॉप से ले देते हैं हम लोग, वाई नॉट. सो क्या टॉप का एरिया थोड़ा ऑफसेट पे दिख सकता है, वो वॉट एवर लुक्स गुड. ये ऑफसेट पे दिख रहा है, आई डोंट फाइंड इट, मेरे को अच्छा नहीं दिख रहा हो. सो इसका ब्लीडिंग कुछ लगा हुआ नहीं मैं. टाइटल का, टाइटल इज अ टेक्स्ट मेश प्रो. देन कंटेंट एरिया के अंदर वी हैव एवरी अदर थिंग जहाँ पे ब्लीडिंग भी लगा हुआ है, एंड लेट्स से इसको 25 का ब्लीडिंग है, विच इज़ सिली, बट ठीक है. एंड देन उसके अंदर वी गो टू कैटेगरीज अगेन, एंड कंटेंट को अंदर कुछ ना कुछ भरना पड़ेगा. नाउ आई रियली थिंक कैटेगरीज हम लोग और छोटे कर सकते हैं, लाइक वीडियो ऑडियो कंट्रोल्स, दैट्स डन. एंड कंटेंट को थोड़ा और बढ़ा के ले सकते हैं हम लोग. राइट, सो दैट इज देयर इज मोर एरिया फॉर अस टू वर्क विथ. राइट, दिस डजंट लुक बैड एट ऑल. राइट, बट दिस इज अ पॉप आउट, दैट इज. इस पे एनिमेशन हम लोग बाद में ऐड कर सकते हैं. इसको बाहर लाने का एंड अंदर लेके जाने का एक फॉर व्हेन यू क्लिक द कस्टमाइजेशन बटन लाइक पूरा स्केल होके गया एंड सो ऑन. सो ठीक है. इसके बाद अपना जो कंटेंट का जो स्क्रॉल व्यू है यहाँ पे अपने को काफ़ी सारे चेंजेस है. लेट्स से दिस इमेज इज़ नॉट बैड बट आई हेट राउंडेड कॉर्नर्स. सो इसका ओपेसिटी मैं फुल कर दूंगा. इंस्टेड इसका वाइब्रेंस मैं थोड़ा कम रखूँगा. दिस इज स्टिल एट फुल ओपेसिटी बट जस्ट विथ अ लाइट शेड ऑफ ग्रे so that it looks like it has been altered kind of, right? For us scroll view के बाद we then move on to viewport. The thing is before going to viewport हम लोगों ने यहाँ पे horizontal bar इसका बंद किया हुआ, right? So that our content doesn't move horizontally, for which we can then remove the horizontal scroll bar, correct? And if that is the case, थोड़ा horizontal scroll bar को adjust करने के लिए they do keep some spacing or bleeding onto the vertical scroll bar जो अपने को यहाँ पे स्लाइडिंग एरिया पे दिखेगा. बट ठीक है, लेट्स जस्ट से अपना वर्टिकल स्क्रॉल बार शुड बी ऑफ विथ 25 फॉर नाउ, राइट? मेरा स्क्रॉल भी इतना बंद क्यों हो गया, नो आइडिया, बट नेवर माइंड. उसके बाद स्लाइडिंग एरिया पे दे हैव अप्लाइड सम ब्लीडिंग विच आई कैन जस्ट make it full rect. It doesn't have to bleed at all, right? And actually ना मैं कंटेंट को थोड़ा चेंज करता हूँ एंड नथिंग हैपन्स, राइट? एंड देन हैंडल को मैं पूरा का पूरा फुल रेक्ट वगैरह जो भी मार के रख सकता हूँ. सो लेट्स से इफ आई गेट द कंटेंट टू 1500 which should then show up my vertical scroll bar, right? So if you can see मेरे को यहाँ पे इसके अंदर का कंटेंट वगैरह ऊपर नीचे जाते हुए दिख रहा है. सो ठीक है, स्क्रॉल बार वर्टिकल में से मैं इसका इमेज निकाल दूंगा. आई डोंट थिंक आई नीड दिस इमेज राइट हियर एंड इवन स्क्रॉल बार का भी आइकन चला गया फॉर सम रीजंस. एंड लेट्स जस्ट होल्ड ऑन टू ट्रांजिशंस. आई नो वन वांट्स दैट. यहाँ पे आई डोंट वांट टू मेस विद एनीथिंग बिकॉज ये सारी चीज़ें ऑटोमेटिक कैलकुलेट होती है इन अ स्क्रॉल बार. आई जस्ट वांट टू गो टू स्लाइडिंग एरिया के अंदर का हैंडल एंड इसका स्प्राइट मुझे अभी के लिए निकाल देना सो दैट आई कैन चेंज इट्स कलर. लेट्स से लाइक 50 का वाइब्रेंस पे रखता है. सो इफ आई नाउ प्रेस प्ले आई एम नाउ एबल टू scroll between different areas. That's nice, right? And also one thing that I like to have is scroll view के अंदर जाके इसको auto hide करने के बदले we keep it permanent and scroll sensitivity should be 25 as per my mouse का scroll wheel, right? And of course movement type can be elastic, it doesn't matter much अभी के लिए. when we add stuff अब लोग वो कैलकुलेट करेंगे बाद में. फिर सॉरी क्या कर रहा था मैं, इसको परमानेंट करने के बाद यस इसका जो स्क्रॉल बार या फिर व्यू पोर्ट का जो रेक्ट मिलता है वी कैन मेक इट फुल रेक्ट टू बी ऑनेस्ट. अभी इसको फुल रेक्ट करने के बाद यहाँ पे मैंने स्क्रॉल बार के लिए कितना विथ करा 25. सो व्यू पोर्ट में से मेरे को 25 का विथ राइट से निकालना सो दैट इट डजंट कन्फ्लिक्ट विथ द स्क्रॉलर, राइट? उसके बाद उसके अंदर के कंटेंट इस विच इज़ देन सपोज टू बी फुल, राइट? इसका हम लोग हाइट जितना भी बढ़ा सकते निकाल सकते हैं. एंड यू कैन सी मेरा स्क्रॉलर का साइज़ उतना बड़ा छोटा हो रहा है बेस्ड ऑन कितना मेरा कंटेंट का हाइट है. सो ठीक है, दिस विल बी मोस्टली ऑटो कैलकुलेटेड बाय आवर कोड बेस्ड ऑन हम लोग कितना कंटेंट ऐड करने वाले हैं. एंड आई एम गोइंग टू शो यू अ सुपीरियर वे ऑफ एडिंग an amount of contents in your settings icon, right? In your settings pop-up, sorry. So this is the setup for our settings. Now whatever we want to add, we can add it quite easily. We don't have to create different panels for video, different panel for audio, different panel for controls. But let's just say if you want ऐसा वाला settings, then definitely different panels चाहिए because if you look at the video वाला section, this is a different, right? So if you want itna variations, then different panels do make a lot of sense. But in this case, I am not going to do that. Right. So ठीक है. स्क्रॉल व्यू के अंदर आई विल बी एडिंग कंटेंट लेटर एंड तब तक मैं स्क्रॉल बार को एक बार अच्छे से देख लेता हूँ वापस. स्क्रॉल बार सब बराबर है, स्लाइडिंग एरिया बराबर है एंड ठीक है. इसका हाई विथ मैं डिफाइन कर सकता हूँ, इसका राइट शुड बी द सेम. नाउ द थिंग इज आई डोंट वांट टू चेंज एनीथिंग. इफ आई चेंज समथिंग आई would probably need to look at other stuff, how it affects everything else. So nice. कंटेंट एरिया में अंदर कंटेंट है, इसके अंदर स्क्रॉल व्यू है, स्क्रॉल व्यू के अंदर व्यू पोर्ट है, कंटेंट है, इसके अंदर अपने को सब चीज़ें भरना है. ठीक है. नाउ कंटेंट के ऊपर एक और चीज़ है, दैट इज वर्टिकल लेआउट ग्रुप. यहाँ पे विल ओनली कंट्रोल चाइल्ड width as size and nothing else, and we can add as many content as we want. Right. जैसे कि let's just say a button for example. अभी for this button we are only able to control its height, right? We can then determine ये button का height कितना रहना चाहिए. I duplicate the button and automatically नीचे एक दूसरा button बन जाता है जिसका हाइट आई कैन स्टिल कंट्रोल. आई ऑल्सो वॉन्ट टू मेक श्योर कि इस कंटेंट के अंदर मैंने वर्टिकल लेआउट ग्रुप किधर डाला, व्यू पोर्ट के कंटेंट के अंदर डाला. आई जस्ट वॉन्ट टू मेक श्योर कि इसका चाइल्ड फोर्स एक्सपांड स्टॉप हो जाए. राइट. सो नहीं तो क्या करेगा, पूरा का पूरा कंटेंट में उसको फिट करने का ट्राई करेगा. दैट इज़ 1500 हाइट का कंटेंट है एंड इफ वन कंटेंट इज लेट्स से 200, ये भी खा रहा है 200. So 200 plus 200 is 400. That leaves at 1100. So 1100 का हाफ कितना होता है, 550. So इन दोनों बटन के बीच में 550 का पिक्सल्स का हाइट आएगा and then 550 pixels will then be left for spacing after the final element, that is after this button. So if I press play, I will see my scroll view works just fine, but दूसरा बटन नीचे आ गया. So in order to prevent that, we do want to turn off force expansion of childs. So then we can control via our own spacing ki how far apart should the content be, and I can keep on adding as many contents as I want. So ठीक है, ये चीज़ मैं आई गेस एक ब्रेक के बाद करूँगा. So be here, I'll be back.
Hi, I hope you're learning well. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Hey, thanks for being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. Hey, thanks for still being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. I'll be back shortly. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. I'll be back shortly. I know you're waiting. I'll be back shortly. Just a few more minutes. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hi, I hope you're learning well. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Hey, thanks for being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. Hey, thanks for still being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. I'll be back shortly. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hey, I know you're waiting. Just a few more minutes. I'll be back shortly. I know you're waiting. I'll be back shortly. Just a few more minutes. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hi, I hope you're learning well. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Hey, thanks for being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you.
हेलो, आई एम बैक. सो अभी अपने को कंटेंट के अंदर सारे के सारे एलिमेंट्स ऐड करने हैं, राइट? वो करने के लिए आई विल क्रिएट एन एम्प्टी गेम ऑब्जेक्ट फर्स्ट, राइट? एंड इस एम्प्टी गेम ऑब्जेक्ट को आई वोंट बी मेकिंग इट फुल, राइट? बट इसको पिवट टॉप साइड में दूंगा. दैट इज इट्स पिवट शुड बी ऑन टॉप सेंटर, राइट? वी डू हैव कंट्रोल ओवर वेयर इट्स पिवट शुड बी, राइट? द जो इसका स्मॉल रिंग दिख रहा है अपने को यहाँ पे, दैट डिनोट्स कि इसका पिवट कहाँ पे. देन फॉर दिस एम्प्टी गेम ऑब्जेक्ट, इसका बंद क्यों हो गया ये? हेलो, वे आर वी एबल टू कंट्रोल इट्स हाइट नाउ? ओके, बग हो गया, नेवर माइंड. वी कैन देन चेंज की इसका हाइट कितना रहना चाहिए, एंड इसको विल जस्ट से इट्स ए कंटेंट के अंदर कंटेंट. I need to look for new words to name each and every game object, right? But the thing is, इसके अंदर अभी के लिए I'll create two empty game objects. First will be called as a label, right? And second one will be called as element, right? Let's name it contents नहीं, बट एक्चुअली स्क्रॉल व्यू चलना बंद हो सकता है. सो इसका नाम वो रहेगा जो हम लोग कंटेंट एक्चुअली भरेंगे. फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ यू नो पुट अप मैक्स FPS, दैट इज FPS स्लाइडर, तो इसका वो नेम आएगा. ऑलराइट देन, in that case हम लोग लेबल के अंदर जाते हैं, एंड इंस्टेड ऑफ क्रिएटिंग एन एम्प्टी गेम ऑब्जेक्ट आई विल बी क्रिएटिंग ए टेक्स्ट मेश प्रो, राइट? नाउ आई डू वांट कि ये लेबल शुड देन कवर 50% of the rect, and then the element should also cover 50% of the other rect, that is the other 50% of the rect, right? And उसके अंदर का जो टेक्स्ट मैश प्रो है, it then if it goes full, right, it then covers the entire thing. We assign it a font and उसको बोलते हैं कि display something, right? Like let's say FPS slider. Let's also make it right aligned, and इसका font size decide करते हैं. Maybe 72 is too big. 48 looks fine to me. Alright, then I also want कि I'll go to main, and instead of object scripts के अंदर, actually settings is not UI, settings is general I guess. So UI settings is a different thing. So basically ये आना चाहिए scripts के अंदर. Now that I think about it, and UI के अंदर we already have a selector, but then I also want label, and I'll call it content label, right? So then we are able to change text का, हर एक जितने भी text का labels बनाया मैंने, इस सबको मेरे को सेंटर अलाइन, लेफ्ट अलाइन, राइट अलाइन करना है, सबको एक साथ कर सकते हैं. दैट इज द कंट्रोल दैट वी वांट टू हैव. देन विद इन द एलिमेंट्स आई एम गोइंग टू क्रिएट ए स्लाइडर, राइट? बिकॉज FPS should be a slider or maybe an input value, right? So I'll create a UI slider जहाँ पे I'll again give it a full rect, and इसको I'll restrict to 80% of the screen or 80% of the parent rect or whatever, and then I'm going to create yet another input field that is going to cover the remaining 20% of the rect that I presented, right? So now to make this a bit or a little bit beautiful, right? अभी स्लाइडर के अंदर we do require background, it determines कि अपना मेन स्लाइडर क्या कलर क्या होगा for when nothing is filled. Let's say if it's of color red and if I press play, this is not the fill area, this is just a background. फुल फिल हो गया तो अपना बैकग्राउंड गायब हो जाता है, दैट इज़ अ डिफरेंट थिंग, बट ठीक है, दिस इज ऑल्सो फाइन. सो अभी इसका डोमेन रीलोडिंग बार बार ऑन ऑफ या फिर बार बार रन नहीं करने के लिए आई विल टर्न ऑफ डोमेन रीलोड. राइट, ठीक है. बैकग्राउंड आई इंटेंड टू कीप fully black without any image or source within the image. And then I have the fill part and the fill area. The fill area is bleeded a bit and the fill उसके अंदर भी थोड़ा बहुत bleeding है. fill का source image भी निकाल दूंगा, so now that everything is well contained within each other. The thing is, fill area को definitely bleeding दूंगा मैं, but from all sides so that I create some sort of a border. Oops. So it now looks like this. Right, एक छोटा सा border बन जाता है, which is nice, not bad at all. It's just that कि मेरा handle is now too ugly. Surely we'll change that as well. But before we do that, मेरा FPS का टेक्स्ट और ये स्लाइडर बहुत ही चिपक चिपक के बैठा है, विच मीन्स आई नीड टू गो टू इट्स प्रीफैब. राइट, एंड पूरे के पूरे टेक्स्ट को राइट से मैं 25 पे अलाइन करूँगा, सो देयर इज अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ गैप. राइट, इसके बाद आई विल गो टू स्लाइडर हैंडल एरिया और हैंडल स्लाइडर एरिया, वॉट एवर इट इज सपोज टू बी. एंड टू बी ऑनेस्ट, इसका हैंडल पे से भी मैं सोर्स इमेज निकाल दूँगा, बाकी जो है सही है. राइट, अभी इसका हाइट मैं सेम कंस्ट्रेंट पे रख सकता हूँ कि ये भी इतना ही दिखेगा. एंड इसका कलर मैं चेंज करके रख सकता हूँ. नाउ लेट्स से वी टेक अप द कलर ब्लू फॉर एग्जांपल. राइट, एंड टू बी ऑनेस्ट, इस स्लाइडर का जितना इस हैंडल का जितना विड्थ होता है, दैट इज़ द अमाउंट ऑफ विड्थ यू डिटेक्ट फ्रॉम बोथ साइड्स ऑन टू लेफ्ट एंड राइट. वरना क्या आएगा, the handle will go outside of the slider. That is, if the slider बीच में से 10 to the left 10 to the right जा रहा है, then अपना slider area को भी 10 to the left and 10 to the right bleed करना होता है, so that it is well constrained within this bounds. So this is what we have right now. Right, looks good. अब इसके बाद we want to improve अपना input field. Right, अभी for some reasons अपना स्लाइडर के अंदर जो भी चीज़ें हम लोग ने भरा, most of the stuff was already anchored to show a smaller height. But you know, we can totally fill the slider and इसको बोल सकते हैं कि 0 1, दैट इज सबका टॉप लेफ्ट राइट वगैरह जो भी निकाल देता हूँ मैं. एंड देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ नाइस इन माई बैकग्राउंड, सो ठीक है, आई एम नॉट एबल टू डू समथिंग एनीथिंग अबाउट दैट. बट फिल एरिया में जाकर इसको ब्लीडिंग वापस से दे देता हूँ मैं. इसका ब्लीडिंग नहीं निकालना चाहिए था, बट ठीक है. सो नाउ दैट आई हैव ए फुल स्लाइडर दैट कवर्स अप द इंटायरेक्ट एंड उसके सेम साइज का इनपुट फील्ड है मेरे पास. राइट, सब कुछ ऑफ कोर्स एक दूसरे के साथ अभी भी चिपक के, बट वी कैन देन कंट्रोल द हाइट ऑफ ए सिंगुलर कंटेंट, दैट इज लेट्स से 75 फॉर नाउ. राइट, एंड सिंस मेरे सारे के सारे कंटेंट एक लेआउट ग्रुप में, वी कैन देन पुट आउट अ ब्लीडिंग फ्रॉम ऑल साइड्स एज वेल, लेट्स से 25 टू मेंटेन अगेन कंसिस्टेंसी. or maybe 20. 20 from the top, 20 from the right, 20 from the left, 20 from the bottom, as well as a spacing of 20. So when we add more sliders, वो सब एक दूसरे को चिपक के नहीं बैठेंगे without spacing, right? But we also have to consider कि हाँ ठीक है मैंने spacing डाला हुआ है. We have to acknowledge that every time we try to recalculate the height of this individual panel. So ठीक है. So now that मेरा slider बराबर दिख रहा है, I will then go to input field and यहाँ पे से अपना image निकाल दूँगा. Now of course ये भी slider को काफ़ी चिपक गया, so इसको भी थोड़ा left side में bleeding देता है, that is 25. Why not? या फिर इसको 10 का दे सकता है and फिर slider को right में से 10 का दे सकता है. Anything is fine, right? Everything is fine. Then we go to input field and यहाँ पे जो टेक्स्ट एरिया के अंदर जो प्लेस होल्डर है इसको निकाल देते हैं. इनपुट फील्ड के नीचे जाके यहाँ पे प्लेस होल्डर को बैक स्पेस दबा दें ताकि इट गोज टू नन एंड नॉट रियली मिसिंग, राइट. एंड देन हम लोग टेक्स्ट एरिया में जाके इसको फुल रेक्ट मार देते हैं एंड देन एक्चुअली टेक्स्ट में जाके इसको सेंटर पे लाता है एंड वी आल्सो गिव इट अ फॉन्ट एंड यहाँ पे लिखते हैं 0, राइट. इसका फॉन्ट साइज बढ़ाते हैं हम लोग 48. ऑफ कोर्स वो 0 लिख के नहीं आएगा बिकॉज हम लोग को इनपुट फील्ड में भी वो चीज़ लिखना है. नाउ दिस इज हाउ इट्स गोइंग टू लुक. नाउ वी डोंट रियली नीड बोल्ड, वी जस्ट नीड नॉर्मल स्टफ, राइट. इसको 36 भी कर देगा तो भी चलेगा, यस नहीं. ओके 42 इट इज देन, राइट. नाउ FPS इज सपोज टू बी एन इंटीजर, इट कैन नॉट बी अ फ्लोट. लाइक ऐसा कोई नहीं बोलता कि मेरे को 100.5 FPS आ रहा है, 100.2 FPS आ रहा है गेम में एंड सो ऑन. यू नो इट इज़ ऑलवेज ए होल नंबर. सो वी गो टू स्लाइडर एंड यहाँ पे वी टर्न ऑन होल नंबर्स एंड ऑफ कोर्स इसका मैक्स वैल्यू भी यहाँ पे डिटरमाइन करता है, दैट इज 400, राइट. सो वी आर देन एबल टू मूव इट फ्रॉम 0 to 400 एज पर आवर विल, राइट. अभी ये चीज़ होने के बाद we need to link the slider with this input field. Now this thing we have to do manually because again they are two different components, two totally different components. We have no control over it whatsoever. So I go to elements right now and I just create one more thing, that is slider with input, right. I give it a full rect and इसके अंदर मैं स्लाइडर एंड इनपुट फील्ड दोनों को भी ऐड कर देता हूँ, राइट. एंड आई गो टू UI and I create a prefab out of it. So a content label and slider with input that I can reuse multiple times, right. And then I have the selector जो अभी के लिए irrelevant है. Just a minute. Chicken ice cream. You want to play CS? Later, after it. ठीक है. Then I go to scripts and within UI I create input slider, right. And then I attach the script to the slider with input component and I override it or commit it onto the prefab, right. Now we want to make everything work fine. दोनों के बीच में सिंकिंग होना चाहिए. जो वैल्यू मैं यहाँ पे चेंज कर रहा हूँ स्लाइडर पे दिखना चाहिए एंड स्लाइडर पे जो वैल्यू डाल रहा हूँ वो सॉरी जो वैल्यू मैं इनपुट पे डाल रहा हूँ वो मेरे स्लाइडर पे रिफ्लेक्ट होना चाहिए. सो इन ऑर्डर टू डू दिस we do require a reference to both of them, that is private slider from unityengine.ui namespace, that's just say slider, and again serialized tmp underscore dropdown, that says dropdown. नहीं, I guess मैंने input field दिया, my bad. tmp underscore input field, that just says input. Right, and then I just create a function that says public void on slider value change. Right, I'm going to say input.text will be equals to 0.toString for now. Right, now we want to talk about or learn about signatures. Right, when I go to slider, I have something called as on value changed, whose signature denoted in round brackets as single. The alias for single in C# is if I try to simplify this, it changes to float. Float is single, right? And if I switch to double is then of course double, right? So single को we call as float, right? ये shaders programming जो भी करते हैं उनको मालूम रहेगा कि single is float, and then half वगैरह क्या होता है, double क्या होता है, and so on, right? So ठीक है, so we need to create a function that intakes one float so that we are able to dynamically bind it to this event. Right, so I just take this float right here and name it as value. I then assign this value to input text. Right, this is the function, which then I create a listener for within the slider, and I drag and drop this game object input slider, and यहाँ पे मेरे को dynamic binding करना है. If I don't do dynamic binding, which means मेरे को अपना value input करना है, I don't want a static value, I want a value that changes. So I want this specific function to subscribe to the on value change event, or essentially a delegate, which will then pass out the value of float. This value determines कि ये value क्या, for whenever this value changes, this function will run, जहाँ पे parameter पे the value passed will be whatever this slider का value is, which will then be reflected onto input text. Right, so this is only going to happen in play mode, but take care. Right, nice, exactly what you wanted, I guess. So ठीक है, टेक्स्ट एरिया वगैरह जो भी बनाया मैंने, ठीक है. ये बॉर्डर के साथ थोड़ा आगे से अच्छा दिखता, बट ठीक है. इसमें उसका ग्राफिक चेहरे का बना स्टाइलिंग सेम करने के लिए आई वुड recommend having a border around this input field, but whatever. But it does not work in reverse, right? Like मैं 60 करता हूँ, it doesn't change the value of the slider. So I also then need to create a function for that. So I create another public void function that is on input string or input end, right? या फिर basically on input commit. I then intake a string text, which will then be going to the slider का value. So basically we want slider dot value to be equals to input dot text. But ये कैसे होगा? This is where we want to convert a string into an integer or basically a float, for which we use int dot parse. Right? So that does the trick. And of course अपने को input text नहीं चाहिए, अपने को डेलीगेट जो टेक्स्ट पास करेगा वो चाहिए. अभी डेलीगेट एक स्ट्रिंग पास करता है, दैट इज चारों के चारों इवेंट्स पे, विच यूजेस द टाइप स्ट्रिंग, एंड हम लोग अपना फंक्शन इस ऑन एंड एडिट वाले डेलीगेट में डायनामिकली वापस बाइंड करेंगे. राइट. सो ऑन इनपुट कमिट इट चेंजेस द स्लाइडर वैल्यू. सो इफ आई नाउ राइट 60, माई स्लाइडर वैल्यू डज गो to 60. Right. Now there is just one single issue, and to be precise, two issues. Like जो भी मेरे अभी लेक्चर्स में बैठता है वो देख रहा है, ये चीज़ मैंने ऑलरेडी बता दी है तुम लोग को, how to do this, but you don't know of the other issue. Like issue number 1, I can write stuff and that is going to generate error. Also I can write the value 600 and 400 पे clamp होता है, that's correct. But let's say if I write 600 again, वो clamp नहीं होएगा. And also मेरा 600 थोड़ा पीछे चला गया. Why? Because starting पे spaces आ गए थे. So the thing is, वो clamp क्यों नहीं हो रहा? If we look at the functionality, right? Let's say for when I put 600, right? That is, मैंने string का value change किया. Right? That is on end edit. It committed the value on slider input. That is, slider का value change हुआ, जिसने वापस से मेरे text का value change किया. Right? So I change the value of slider, then slider का on value change event, then again changes the value of my text. So basically हम लोग जो text commit कर रहे हो वो वापस से rechange हो रहा. Right? Now it says that when the value is already full, if I then write a higher value, it is committed on the slider, but slider का function on value change वापस से run नहीं होता. Why? Because the value did not change. The value is still 400. If the value did not change, the text wasn't updated. Right? Because the text will be updated only when the value is changed, right? Only when the slider value is changed. Not like that. Right? If let's say मैं slider को डाला 221 पे, of course if I write 221 कुछ चेंज नहीं होना चाहिए, बराबर है. बट लेट्स से मैं डालता -20 250 और फिर मैं लिखता हूँ -900. The value of the slider did not change, it is still at 0, and hence it did not change the value of the text, which is a very annoying thing. So basically on input commit के साथ साथ, after we pass the string value, after we pass the integer, after we pass the string value to an integer, we also want to clamp it to a slider minimum and slider maximum value. Right? Now input text should then be clamped. So let me use body block expression for this method, and then I'm going to say input dot text will be equals to int parse or whatever it is supposed to be. Let's say I don't want to parse this int, I want to try parse. So if int dot try pass this specific text, out becomes an integer of type value, which then goes to slider dot value as a value, right? And after a pass was successful, we then also want the input dot text is then limited to mathf dot clamp the specific value to slider dot min value and slider dot max value, right? But I think ये पूरा का पूरा चीज़ float में दे रहा है, because minimum value and maximum value is a float. So we then want to cast it to an integer, and integer को फिर we want to cast it into to string. So basically when we make stuff to string, we don't really want it to be an integer, because anyways हम लोग उसको सिर्फ string में डालने वाला है, right? So ठीक है. So if I press play now and if I say 600 and if I write 600 again, it goes back to 400, right? That is, I cannot just simply write a text that is higher and have it stay there, right? Because we are explicitly then saying that text should then be clamped to a value that is between the minimum value of the slider and maximum value of the slider as well, right? इस पूरे के पूरे चीज़ को हम लोग एक ही लाइन में लिख सकते हैं इस तरीके से. This is also fine, not bad at all. And if you want कि ये पूरा one liner पे बन जाए, you can still do this, right? So then it becomes a lambda function. But of course this is going to generate errors, because we can still write alphabets in those text area, which is why we need yet another function that filters this text, right? That is, we want text filtration, where we can use custom logics or maybe regular expressions, that is long for regex. So ठीक है. I'll just see if this still works. Cool, fine, not bad. Now for text filtration. Right. All right. Right, so we write some extra logic that filters stuff right here. How do we do that? We'll do that after this break. Yay.
Hi, I hope you're learning well.
I'm still
I'll be
here,
back
by the
in
way.
5 minutes.
Muting mic right now.
Hey, thanks for being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. Hey, thanks for still being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. I'll be back shortly. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hey, I know you're waiting. Just a few more minutes. I'll be back shortly. I know you're waiting. I'll be back shortly. Just a few more minutes. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hi, I hope you're learning well. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Hey, thanks for being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. Hey, thanks for still being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. I'll be back shortly. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hey, I know you're waiting. Just a few more minutes. I'll be back shortly. I know you're waiting. I'll be back shortly. Just a few more minutes. right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hi. I hope you're learning well. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Hey, thanks for being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. Hey, thanks for still being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. I'll be back shortly. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hey, I know you're waiting. Just a few more minutes. I'll be back shortly. I know you're waiting. I'll be back shortly. Just a few more minutes. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hi. I hope you're learning well. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Hey, thanks for being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. Hey, thanks for still being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. I'll be back shortly. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. few more minutes. I'll be back shortly. I know you're waiting. I'll be back shortly. Just a few more minutes. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hi, I hope you're learning well. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Hi, I hope.
Okay, so like I promised, I was back after 15 minutes. That was not funny, okay? So अभी हम लोग देखने वाले थे कि फिल्टर टेक्स्ट कैसे करते हैं. The thing is, for doing this, we can, first of all break it down into complex steps and then simplify it later. The first thing we want is maybe a builder that calls for a new string builder. Then we want to filter out each and every text, that is for each where character in text, right? The type of character is char. If char dot is digit, the specific character, in that case we add it to the builder. That's builder dot append character, and that's it. And if we then go on to say कि input dot text will be equals to builder dot toString, this is definitely going to work, right? So take care. This is a complex process. We then need to simplify it a bit. I mean complex in context of this caliber. इनपुट स्लाइडर पे जाता है, यहाँ पे फिल्टर इनपुट टेक्स्ट लिखते हैं, डायनामिक बाइंडिंग, एंड आई ट्राई टू राइट letters and it doesn't work, right? I'll just try to write some letters and you can clearly see it doesn't work. But when I write numbers, it takes the input, right? So that is working, in fact. So everything just goes fine. There is no need to try pass because there won't be an invalid string that will be passed, right? All the strings that we pass will be in a correct format because of filtering, and there is then no need to try pass stuff. We can just simply parse away. Now we just want one more thing, that is, instead of doing all this, we can then say input dot text will be equals to new string, right? Where we end up and say text dot where right? We use link where character is then equals to char dot s digit character dot to array. Right, this is basically the same thing जो हमने लिखा हुआ. Let's see if this works or not. Yes, all the digits are going, and I cannot write letters again. So what does this do? It's a link statement, that is a language integrated query format, जहाँ पे we create a new string constructor जिसके अंदर we pass the given text, which then we filter out of a where clause, within which we write a local predicate that says character, and it returns a boolean, right? Abhi, what is a text? Text is a string where supposedly runs for each onto that text. Now we saw when we used implicit variable type, that is var var, it created each and every var in a string into a character. So within var, the first generic will always be a character, right? And the return type is then supposed to be boolean. The boolean is char.sDigit function. So if the supposed character in that for each loop is a digit, that is then added to a new variable, which is then converted into an array. Alright, what variable के अंदर वो selected character जाता, right? The character that was selected only evaluates to the enumerable only if it passes this condition. So क्या ये character as condition को pass करता है? Yes. In that case, it appends onto the enumerable का collection type, right? If another character that I write, let's say T or whatever, is that a digit? No. So it doesn't move on to the enumerable collection type. So whatever the end collection type is, that is then converted into an array. That is the requirement of one of the overloads of a string constructor, wherein we can now write input.text equals to all of this, right? Now we can also determine कि maximum digits कितने जाने चाहिए. Why? Because for now we can write off a ridiculously large number, which does not make much sense. So this all is a part of UX. UI is keeping everything in place, and UX stands for user experience, जहाँ पे we add functionalities that are convenient for the user to visually see, react, or act to, right? So both of these things combined create UI UX, that is user interface and user experience. So I now want to say that there is an integer that says length equals to 0, right? For this evaluation, I am then going to say and plus this length should be less than, let's say 4, so that the length should be 3 at max, right? So if I press play now, as you can see, it doesn't go beyond 3 digits, which is fine. None of our characters are then supposed to go beyond 3 digits, right? But for ease of accessibility, that is, let's say I want to go to 400 quickly. I can just move the slider around, or I can write off 232, but I forgot I wanted to go to 400, so now I have to remove everything else and then go back to 400. So in this case, I am then going to say, instead of 4 digits, let's make them have 5, because why not, right? So I can just be like, मेरे को 400 चाहिए, I don't have to press backspace, I can just write another 3, any number, and then press enter, so it automatically gets clamped to 400. So the allowance of 4 digit is fine, it's great, right? And exactly something that we want. Right. So let's say if we want to not confuse anyone with this, we can just also have the length started my negative 1. So क्या यहाँ पे मैं जितना नंबर डालूंगा उतना डिजिट्स अवेलेबल होगा, right? So then I can just say serialized wheel, या फिर basically whatever it is, public int max digits, right? I can replace this variable with this, and then I can determine कि max digits कितने होने चाहिए. Right, let's say इसका default value होगा at 4, because why not? So let's say if मैं यहाँ पे अगर 2 लिखता हूँ, it then goes to 2 digits at max. Of course, I can also do it like this, which people are used to, kind of, that saying max digits plus 1. But every time इसको plus 1 से evaluate करने से अच्छा, why don't we just start the length with -1, which is also fair, right? Sorry. What are the things inside square brackets annotations, kind of? I don't understand your question. Am I watching the feed? No. Right, so ठीक है, I can then determine कि यहाँ पे max digits कितने होने चाहिए, and then that is what we get, right? Max digits and everything else. So we have total control over this input slider, this specific input slider, that also filters text and does stuff. But there is also a case where we would want this to be an integer or maybe a float. We want to qualify for both cases within this FPS slider, right? Let's just say if I'm not aiming for FPS, now let's say I'm aiming for sense, that is sensitivity. Now I'd be not happy if my sensitivities were integers. Of course, sensitivity के values should then be only between 1 to 10, I guess, but they do not need to be whole numbers. I want my sensitivity in floating points. Alright, how do I do that? To be honest, we have to change a lot of stuff. For now, we are passing it via integer. We would then want to parse it via a float. So actually, why don't we just write float in here? Because integer is implicitly convertible into float. The integer part will work just fine. It's the float part that will also start working fine now. right? So ठीक है. After that, yeah, let's see. All right. So our filter text is, then removing all of the dots. Because obviously a dot is not a digit. Correct? So we then want an OR gate, or character is equals to dot. So that a dot is also then accepted. As you can clearly see, it is. Right? But apna the value inside the input field goes nuts. So we need to fix that. That is what we fix by formatting the output string. That is, we format it as 0.000. To be honest, second 0 का ज़रूरत नहीं, but रखेंगे अभी के लिए. So if I now press play and sensitivity पे जाता है, it did not change anything. Okay, noted. Okay, I guess वो commit पे change करेगा. Commit पे तो change नहीं करना मेरे को. My bad, मैं गलत जगह पे change कर रहा हूँ इसको. This is where I want to put out formatting. My bad. ठीक है. As you can see, it works fine. The thing is, मेरे integer में भी 2 points आ गया, which is not something that I want. So here I am going to put out a condition that says slider dot whole numbers question mark right. In that case, I am going to pass out the single integer format, or else I am going to pass out the floating integer format, right. Let's say if I don't want a single integer, मेरे को इसका starting के 2 points है, that is also fine. Right, this is fine. I can have a single integer as well, and so on. Now whatever value I want. In that case, maybe we can write it in a simplified view. That is 0 plus slider dot whole numbers string dot empty, or else append format with this. Are there any simplification? It's available. Yes, it asks if we can convert it to interpolated string, which we can, to be honest. But after we just turn it into this interpolated string, add argument format, add this modifier method. No, not really. This is fine as well. So the thing is, this is less readable, while the thing that I wrote previously was more readable. So okay, I failed to simplify it, and that's fine. I don't care. Right, this is just fine. At least we are able to comprehend key this is the integer part and this is the floating part. So yeah, I guess the initial 0 is not really required as well. Why don't we just have single digits? Right, this is great. And then about the writing part, 7 point 25445. I mean, that doesn't filter stuff for some reasons, because we haven't tried to filter anything. So when we write this stuff, we also want to filter the same thing right here onto commit. Right. Whatever floating value we get, we want to pass it normally. Cool. If we don't do this, it should still work in some cases. That is 6.765 should okay, it did not work in some cases. Never mind then. If you only wanted to go towards a specific format, then that's fine, I guess. Okay. For this format to not repeat it again and again, I'm going to create a private string format property. Right. I know I do require property because whole numbers को evaluate करना, right, every time for run time पे on off होता है वगैरह जो भी है. Alright, so things now accept floating inputs and integer inputs. Right, I can still go 6.4565 and it's going to round off to 6.46 and so on. But यहाँ पे मेरा value, as you can see, it does not round off to that, which is fine. This is exactly what happens in Counter-Strike as well. You can have your sensitivity at 0.819 and on the interface it's going to show you 0.82, but when you type it in console you are still able to get it off to at least 4 to 5 precision points. So that is not really a problem. This is fine. This is totally fine, right? Alright. And why do we want sensitivity? That was just hypothetical. We don't really want sensitivity. That was just to show it should then accept both integer and floating points altogether, right? But there is still one more thing. 4.2.1. Now that was in an incorrect format. So we only want 1 point all the time. So I am going to yet create another integer that is going to say period will be equals to 0, right? That is the amount of period that we add, and I am just going to say and plus period is 1, right? So I can still go and say 653, it's going to go to 10, and I'm going to then say 8.25 point. I cannot add another dot or period or whatever you want to call it, or whatever you want to call it, right? So that is fine. Instead of writing is, if we were to make it consistent, we can also write the is equal to operator, or basically the comparison operator, right? This is all fine. So every time I create a new string or if I edit string, it's going to check for not more than one period, right? And when in integers, I can still write period, but that is just going to get ignored as whole numbers is active. So if I write 65.9, it's gonna go to 66. If I write 65.5, it's going to go to 66. If I write 65.4, it's going to go to 65. That is, round off will only take place when it is 0.5 or higher, right? So that is also great. Everything just works fine, may it be for integer or may it be for floating point, and we don't even need to create our own boolean. That will be totally controlled if the whole numbers is active or inactive, right? So that is great, to be honest. The thing is, we cannot commit to this right now. Let's say we can still commit to the slider input and everything else, but we don't want to commit to this because यहाँ पे इसका minimum value maximum value will change. ये जो भी blue part दिख रहा है, that is all going to change, right? I don't want transition, I don't want this, I don't want that, and so on. So I'll go to its prefab and मैं यहाँ पे बोलता हूँ इसको कि transition मेरे को actually नहीं चाहिए, बाकी सब can be blued off, right? I am not going to apply this. Do not apply this, or else all of the sliders that use this similar prefab will be fucked. I meant to say forked, but whatever. And the text mesh pro is something that we can still, I guess, commit. इसमें changes हुए क्या, by the way? Oh, I just noticed something. Is that okay? ये सिर्फ input field पे है, right? हम लोग जो इसका selection करते हैं उसका color यहाँ पे change कर सकते हैं. Nice. I did not know this about input field. ये मैंने जैसा भी notice किया. That's great. Great, to be honest. इसको play mode के बाहर से निकालूँगा मैं. I'll keep this of the same colors. And to be honest, I still have no idea मैं sensitivity में changes क्यों कर रहा हूँ. I don't want sensitivity unless I'll be making this game for the controller, in which case I really do require sensitivity. So ठीक है, slider with input is fully done, and कहाँ गया? This is the final script for it, right? And even floating points will be, let's say I stop taking whole numbers, and let's say floating point में कितने digits आते हैं? 65.33333. Okay, so it doesn't actually clamp digits into floating points for some reasons, right? So इसको पूरा एक बड़ा ब्रैकेट बनाता है. And now let's see. So come on, won't you give me something to remember? Alright, so this is now being clamped to 4 digits, to be honest, right? That's great. What if we change the brackets to this? Will it be counting the period as a digit? I don't think so. No, it doesn't work. So ठीक है, we still have no control over कि कितना digit जाना चाहिए, कितना नहीं जाना चाहिए, and so on. So ठीक है, that is fine. Period is still one length, like it still appends to one length. Now let's say if you just want कि this period should not be counted as a length, only all of the digits should be counted as a length. In that case, we need to write these two things all together. Right? S digit and length should be greater than whatever. Alright, and let's see if this works. Alright, working with integers, working with everything else. Nice. So it doesn't take only 4 digits outside of the period. Right. If you want to have a look at this code, you can. I don't know how to live without your love. I was born to make you happy. I was born to make you happy. That's the way I should be. क्या है मेरे पास सर? इतना ही चीज़ है ना, ज़्यादा नहीं है. ठीक है. Have a look at this code if you want. Right. I'll be taking yet another break.
Hi, I hope you're learning well. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Hey, thanks for being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. Hey, thanks for still being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. I'll be back shortly. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hey, I know you're waiting. Just a few more minutes. I'll be back shortly. I know you're waiting. I'll be back shortly. Just a few more minutes. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. Hi. I hope you're learning well. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Hey, thanks for being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. Hey, thanks for still being here. I'm excited to share my experience with you. I'll be back shortly. I'm right along the way. I'm coming. Just wait. I'll be back shortly.
यस माय बैड, आई जस्ट रियलाइज्ड कि माइक बंद है. नंबर कैसे मैच किया? रिपोर्ट ड्रेस, रिपोर्ट ट्रेड्स. ओके, नाइस इंग्लिश. स्लाइडर को नंबर से कैसे मैच किया? वही, यह पूरा कोड लिखा था. ये 3 फंक्शंस बनाए जो इसके डेलीगेट्स में बाइंड किए हुए. एंड दिस आर सीरियलाइज्ड डेलीगेट्स. आई गेस तुम लोग के नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में आने वाला वो चीज़. लास्ट लेक्चर में मैंने आई गेस खाली डेलीगेट्स लिखे थे. सो यू नो डेलीगेट्स कैन देन ऑल्सो बी सीरियलाइज्ड. दे लुक लाइक दिस. इसके ऊपर वी जस्ट बाइंड स्टफ, राइट. जैसे कि यहाँ पे और 4 डेलीगेट्स है. सो सारी चीज़ों को फिल्टर करके वगैरह जो भी है सब कर सकते हैं. इफ़ यू वांट मोर डिटेल इन्फॉर्मेशन, वीडियो रिवाइंड करके देख सकता है गेस, राइट. ठीक है, अभी मैं क्या कर रहा था? आई फॉरगॉट. ओके, आई वॉज ट्राइंग टू बाइंड दिस सेटिंग्स एंड दिस स्लाइडर, राइट. मेरे को दोनों सेटिंग्स और दोनों भी स्लाइडर को एक साथ जो भी है बाइंड करना समहाउ, right. In that case, I would have to create a manager that always holds one singular settings. अब the thing is, I can also go to content, and since this content के अंदर सब कुछ है, I can also create a script for each and every content, right. या फिर pop-up settings के अंदर already एक script बना के रख सकता है that just helps me turn on or off the pop-ups, whatever it is that I can do. So I go to scripts UI and मैं यहाँ पे बोलता हूँ कि settings menu, right. The settings menu has its own script, right. Now this then refers to serialized field, or not really serialized field but just public settings and RL settings, right. So इसको हम लोग यहाँ से इंटेक कर सकते हैं. अभी आफ्टर वी इंटेक दिस, we then want one more thing कि whatever this settings value holds, we want a public void update fps value and settings. That is again float value that says settings.fps equals to value but as a u short, right. So the thing is, अपने को जो setting presets that we want to change consistently can just be present right here, right. We can have multiple presets of settings that can be switched from here and there, and then this function will then be binded onto the slider का on value change as a second listener, right. So I drag and drop this right here. Settings menu में जाता है और बोलता है इसका dynamic float also bind update fps value and settings. So I now if I now press play, I can see it also changes right here along with text. So it kind of changes everywhere, to be honest. Then I also want that specific slider should also intake this value from the settings that was previously available. So the thing is, whenever settings are enabled, that is on enable, I want to run an event that is public unity event that says on enable, yeah, basically on initialize. I want to invoke this specific event, right? And on this event I will be then binding a function from the input slider that says public void update slider. Alright, that is slider.value will be equals to settings dot something or whatever. But how do I even do that? Right, for that I do really need settings. So let's say hypothetically we create the function right here, right? Public void initialize fp slider, right? It then intakes a value that is slider and says slider dot value will be equals to settings dot fps. Right, and then I bind it right here. From settings menu I say initialize fps slider, and both it intakes this specific slider, and then whatever the value is here it intakes that from the start. Like let's say I put the value here at 700, I initialize, it goes to 400, I change it, I go out of play mode, I come back to play mode, it goes back to 133. Right, so it remembers in and out of play mode. Right, but the thing is I would have to create functions that initializes each and every settings menu, which is a lot. Right, so what do I do in that case? In that case I just pass public void initialize slider, I intake first settings, and then I say slider dot value will be equals to settings dot fps. I don't need this function to be created within settings. That function can exist on its own on the input slider class, which is more ethical, right? Since I don't have to create a initialize slider for fps, initialize slider for this or whatever it is then it's supposed to be. But ठीक है, I guess नहीं बनानी पड़ेगा मेरे को, never mind, upsie dupsie, ठीक है. Okay, never mind, I have to make it. हाँ ठीक है. Let us say input slider is well fulfilled at this point. It works fine, but it's just that I don't like it. I don't like how it works. It is fine, but it can be better. Right, so let's create individual scripts for each and every UI content. That is, I create a folder that says I create I create a folder that says settings content, and then I create a script called as fps slider. Right, it just say fps maybe. Okay, and I'll put it under the namespace of rl.ui dot content, which is a UI content, right? Each and every individual content can have its own script, which allows us to have high control over each and every content, right? So let's say if not for slider, we make something for resolution, like in this Rocket League settings, right? Resolution का अपने को अलग से script बना के रख सकते हैं. Display mode के लिए we can have a different script for world detail, for high quality shaders, for ambient occlusion, depth and everything else if required, right? So that is also great. That is content के अंदर we have FPS, UI content के अंदर FPS करके एक script है, ठीक है, not bad. In here I'll create a public void initialize slider, right? In here I am going to ask for settings, and here I'll just say I have to intake a slider at this point. Yes, the referencing can be a bit overwhelming, like we have to reference so many things here and there. Slider.value will be equals settings.value FPS. Because if ये चीज़ अगर मैं स्लाइडर विथ इनपुट के अंदर लेता, इट डजेंट ऑलवेज हैव टू बी द केस कि मेरे को हर बार उसका FPS लेना पड़ता था. वो चीज़ मैंने थोड़ा लेट रेस किया, बट ठीक है, दिस इज हाउ इट हैज़ टू बी नाउ, राइट? सो यहाँ पे भी लेट्स से सेम स्लाइडर जाएगा, cool. And to be honest, pop-up settings के अंदर the settings that are being passed will then be invoked with this settings variable. So basically यहाँ पे मैं generic बनाता that is going to broadcast the specific settings to every subscriber. So basically we don't have to get settings all the time, right? What we can do is we can just get this specific thing settings menu के अंदर, and then we can say initialize slider from settings जो अपने को ब्रॉडकास्ट होके मिल रही है, किधर गया, हाँ, और उस पर से अपन उसका FPS निकालता है. एंड द थिंग इज सेटिंग्स मेन्यू के अंदर FPS का अलग से कुछ मेंशन करने का ज़रूरत नहीं. वी जस्ट क्रिएटेड अ डिफरेंट स्क्रिप्ट for this specific functionality. So this function should then be here, that is update value in settings, right? So I'm just going to say settings again, settings.fps will be equals to ushort slider.value. Now I'm not sure if वो update हुआ कि नहीं होगा. To be honest update होना चाहिए, because मैंने reference type के अंदर से एक और टाइप उठाया, which should be fine, right? Since classes are reference type, each and every class is then referenced, right? So I think I messed up somewhere. Okay, this is not going well. I don't have settings right here, which is a bummer. How do I get it here? Settings that I face, but I don't have settings, man. Hehe. I only have settings right here. So basically मेरे को on enable and on disable दोनों टाइम पे चेंज करना पड़ेगा, right? I cannot just change the value at runtime. The thing is I want control in such a way that we can change stuff at runtime. दैट इज फ्रंट टाइम पे मैं जाके यहाँ पे बोलता हूँ कि इंस्टेड ऑफ कैपिंग इट एट 400 FPS cap it at 20 FPS. It should work. It should work. Right, for that I do require a reference to settings. Everything can be fixed right now if I just have a reference to settings, but I just don't want to get that reference so easily. Right. This script looks fine to me, looks complete to me, so I'm going to get rid of this. Settings menu is something that we have, and onInitialize is a perfect event. It's just that we also want update value in settings as a function which worked when this specific function was available right here. It is in fact a part of settings menu, so why shouldn't it be here? For now I guess मैं इसको अभी के लिए इधर रखता हूँ. I'll see if I can think of some other way to make it legit or make it more legit or even better, because for now this is clear jugaad, right? This is, let go kind of work. I can definitely make it better, I believe that. So I'm just going to say that for now let's have a slider from Unity engine .ui and then say slider.value will be equal to settings.fps. I guess this is not that bad as well. It's fine. There is a lot of here and there, to be honest. Where is it? Okay, it did not save. What? Ouch. हाँ, मैंने खुद ने उल्टा लिखा है, माय बैड. अभी क्या हुआ इसको? ओके, क्लास का स्कोप गैप हो गया. सर अब कहाँ गया? Wait, what did I just do? I don't. Bro, I'm confused right now. Okay. I'm not confused, I think I'm lost. Yeah, I'm definitely lost. What did I just do? Okay, let's analyze. So I have two scripts, settings menu and FPS. Right. Let's break down under FPS first, because this is its own element. Slider input works, it helps to just bind the input field in the slider. It doesn't have anything to do with settings or any other things, right? वो सिर्फ अपने आप में काम करता है, अपना स्लाइडर और इनपुट फील्ड को एक दूसरे के साथ बाइंड करता है. इट लिटरली हैज़ नो अदर जॉब, सो इट इज़ फाइन, राइट? दैट इज़ फाइन. Out of the picture. Then we created an FPS slider for some reasons. FPS slider के अंदर I created initialize slider. I took a reference to the slider and यहाँ पे बोला slider value will be equal to settings.fps, जो actually यहाँ पे मैंने bind किया पॉपअप सेटिंग्स में, right? And वहाँ पे there is one more function that says update FPS, that intakes a slider and सेटिंग्स FPS को स्लाइडर का वैल्यू में डाल देता. So where is this code running? Slider. I feel there is something wrong, but I think I am not in the right mind to start thinking a lot about it at this moment. I decline to think about it much more at this point. I'm just hungry, man. It's 8 o'clock. So I guess I'll fix this next time. Right? I'll definitely fix this next time. It works, but it's bad. It is bad. It works. So, just to avoid all of that, I am going to again delete both of these codes. So, I have no other option but to fix it. I cannot just let it go. But तुम लोगों ने देखा लाइव पे. That is one of the way you can do stuff, but I highly recommend to not do stuff that way. Right? So ठीक है. We'll see later about that. कहाँ गया मेरा कंटेंट? अच्छा इससे इधर निकल के दोनों जगह से. अच्छा यहाँ पे है ना स्क्रिप्ट. इसी को रिमूव करना था मेरे को बार बार. सो ठीक है, अपना स्लाइडर इनपुट आपस में काम करता है. इट्स जस्ट दैट कि अपना एफएस अपने मेन सेटिंग्स पे जाके अपडेट नहीं होता है. सेटिंग्स इज दिस ऑब्जेक्ट. ये ऑब्जेक्ट पे जाके कुछ अपडेट नहीं होता है ना. अभी आउटसाइड ऑफ प्ले मोड रिमेंबर नहीं होता. विल डू दैट. आई गेस मैंने एक बार ऑलरेडी बता दिया था ये चीज़ किसी तो प्रीवियस लेक्चर में. इट्स नॉट दैट डिफिकल्ट, बट इट्स जस्ट दैट आई डोंट वांट टू थिंक अबाउट इट राइट नाउ एट ऑल. सो सी यू आई गेस. बाय बाय.